right. Turn some of these things off on my computer. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. This class is going to be super fun. We are working with Cakesicles. We're going to make Snowman Cakesicles today. Okay, they're one of my favorite things to do, not so much because it's snowman. Snowman's kind of cute, but Cakesicles in general are super fun to make. You can get so creative with them, and kids also love them as well. All right, so if you guys are ready to get started, let's just jump right in. And if you guys have any questions throughout the class, please put it in the chat, and Chanel will definitely get those to me so we can get that answered during class if you guys have any comments or questions or anything like that, okay? All right, so can we go to the top-down camera, please? Thank you. All right, so let's go over some of the stuff that we are going to need for this class. Obviously, we need our silicone cakesicle mold. These are great. I got these from Michael's. I think you can get them online as well. And they also have different shapes and patterned versions of these as well. So, feel free to kind of look around and find the one that you guys want to give it a try for. But these are really good because they're kind of simple and clean, so you can be super creative with them and do whatever you want to your Cakesicles, okay? So that's the silicone mold. We are going to use fondant to decorate our little snowman. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to actually use the white one and color them. So that way, people who are new to coloring and things like that, you guys could see the process of how that works. Okay. But with that said, you can also buy these at Michael's, different colors, different shades. So if that's easier for you, you can definitely do that as well. Okay. So for our fondant, for the colors, we have, we're going to do blue, orange, and purple. And again, these are just colors that I'm going with. So you can customize to your wants. And the food coloring for the fondant, you have to make sure it's the not the oil-based, but the water-based colors. The oil one you typically use to color your chocolates. Okay, so speaking of chocolates, we will also need our meltables. Again, I'm going to use for our base white chocolate. And for the melting process of these chocolates, if you are new, it gets sometimes a little bit tricky because when you're trying to dip something in the chocolate, you want your chocolate consistency to be a little bit on the thinner side. Okay, so it's easier for you dip your cake pops or cake bites or whatever it is that you're making. And for that, the instructions on the bag says that when you are starting to melt, always make sure that you are using a microwave safe glass bowl. Don't use plastic or anything like that. It just doesn't work that well. And you have to make sure you set your setting on your microwave 50% power, okay? You don't want to go 100% and just pop these guys in there because you will end up burning your chocolate. And there's unfortunately nothing you can do at that point. Believe me, I've been there. I have done that many times. So with 50%, your first setting is going to be at 1 minute. You will take it out and then give it a good mix, and then you will continue for 30-second increments until you get it to the consistency that you want. Again, we want this to be a little bit thinner. So what we can do is we can add 2 teaspoons of vegetable shortening with your chocolate as you're starting the melting process. Okay. However, I know I've talked about this in my previous classes too. The vegetable shortening for me kind of clumps up the chocolate a little bit. So I actually use coconut oil, and it's the same kind of ratio. Just a preference. If you want to give it a try with vegetable shortening, see how that works out for you. If it doesn't work well, you can always go to coconut oil. Okay, that works pretty good with these guys. So that's a little bit of tips and tricks on the chocolate. We are going to need some sort of cute little decorations for our snowman. Okay, Then you also need your sticks. And I just got this from Michael's from the craft section. They sometimes have them in like random places. So not necessarily if they don't have them in the baking section, you can definitely go to the craft section and pick them up. All right, so these are just regular popsicle sticks. So we're gonna need those. And of course, you need your cake and you need your frosting. So I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about like fun little options. Okay, so when you, let's say you make cupcakes or you make a cake and you end up with some extras and the cake is still fresh, you don't want to throw it away. Well, this is the perfect project that you can turn them into cakesicles. So, you know, you would put in your cake, your cupcakes, whatever it is that you have, and you can even use your buttercream that you used for decorating your cupcakes, because that's essentially what we need. Okay, so it doesn't matter what the color is. You can have fun with colors. It could be white, it could be, you know, whatever. But I will show you guys how, if you're new to this, what you would typically do. So if you, once you have your cake or your cupcake in here, then you want to mush the cake, kind of crumble it up. And honestly, I usually just use my hands for this. So I think I might switch to that. It's just so much easier to crumble everything up. All right. You obviously want to make sure if you have a cake, all the edges that end up being kind of rough and burned, you don't want to add those in here. So, you know, take those out, crumble your cake. All right, so make sure you guys could see that. And you need just a little bit of buttercream. Okay, so you just squeeze that in there, just a little bit. You don't want to put too much in there because then your base is going to be very sticky and it'll be really hard to work with. It'll start sticking to everything. So go small and then, you know, see what that feels like. And then all you're, literally doing is just mushing it all in there. Trying to make sure you get a kind of a consistency, like a Play-Doh consistency, if that makes sense. So when you form a ball, it holds its shape. Okay, again, it's not sticky, it's not too dry where it's crumbling and falling apart. It's holding its shape. And that's kind of what we need. Okay, and I know it gets kind of messy. Any questions so far? Please put it in the chat if you do. All right, so now we are going to form our cakesicles. Okay, so there's different ways that you do it. You could do it. The way that I normally do it is I will take some of my cake and I will place it in the mold, and I'll make sure that I'm squeezing it down and covering all the little corners. Okay, it's not filled up all the way, but just making sure that I have a nice little base and all the corners are covered. And then I'll go ahead and put in my stick. Goes through the hole if you're using this particular mold. And you want it to go not all the way, but just kind of right about there, okay? Because you want to make sure you're creating a nice firm base. So when you are holding it from the stick and you're dipping it, your cake pop or your cakesicle doesn't fall apart. Okay, so I usually do mine right about there, and then you go ahead and fill it back in. Just like that. And gently just squeeze your cake into the mold. All right. And if you see that your cake is kind of crumbling and not staying in place, that means you need a little bit more buttercream. So just add a little bit more to it and you should be good to go. Okay, so I'm just pushing it down nice and firm, making sure all the corners are covered. It's filled up all the way. It's not bulging out. It's pretty even. Okay, that's kind of what you are looking for. All right, so once you have your mold ready to go, you will place this into the freezer for maybe 15, 20 minutes. The goal is for it to get solid. So when you're dipping, the cake doesn't fall apart and fall into the chocolate. Okay, so put it in the freezer. Mine actually stayed overnight because I had to pop them in there for class, and they are perfectly fine and ready to go. Okay, so that's kind of what you're looking for them to be smooth and kind of hard. All right, so if you guys are following along, go ahead and pop these in the freezer. Like I said, you're going to need some time for them to shape up. Okay, move all my stuff over. All right, so now that we have our cakesicles nicely frozen and out of the freezer, you can even, I think, put them in the fridge to get them a little bit more solid. It might take a little bit longer, obviously, but that's definitely an option as well. Okay, just clean up my section a little bit. All right, so the next step is to start dipping. All right, make sure my chocolate is still somewhat dippable. So I melted my chocolate. I did add coconut oil to mine just to get it a little bit on the thinner side. All right, and the best way to dip something that's a little bit longer is to put your chocolate in like a tall glass of some sort, okay? And it'll make the dipping process so much easier. So I'm gonna go ahead and put mine in here. Hopefully not make a huge mess as I do this. Because what you're looking for is the depth in the chocolate. And that's what makes it easier to work with. All right.
Melanie, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Someone asked, what if we don't have a cake?
If you don't have a cake, I mean, you can definitely get creative. Do you have cookies? You can probably, it's the same concept, right? You can use cookies, make a little bit of buttercream, put it in there, because ultimately what you're looking for is some sort of a like a cake cookie base that goes into the molds. And the buttercream gives it that smoothness, so it's able to stick and not be crumbly. So you can essentially, you know, dip them in chocolates and sauces and things like that. I have never actually done cookies before, but I don't see why it wouldn't work. Does that kind of help answer that question, I hope?
Follow-up question, like
Yes.
cookie dough.
Yeah, absolutely. You can use cookie dough because it's, you know, at the end of the day, it's the same concept. It's like a cake base of some sort, right? So if you have a cookie dough, that should work perfectly fine. I would give that a try as well. Because if you, I don't know if you guys have ever made cake pops or cake bites, it's the same concept. It's the dough, and then, you know, you freeze it, you get it cold, and then you dip it at the end. So it's the same thing. If you have a cookie dough, give it a try. You should be completely fine doing it. All right. Okay, so now I have my chocolate, and we're just going to go ahead and start dipping. And this is where you just kind of dip all the way and try to cover all the angles, okay? And don't worry about getting some on the stick. We can clean that off later. And then you pull it off slowly, and you just kind of give it a little bit of a shake just to kind of get that excess chocolate off. You guys could see that. Okay, I'm trying to get it nice and smooth. And you can kind of wiggle and make sure the dripping stops. And once it's dipped, then make sure you put it on a parchment paper. I'm gonna put mine on here for it to kind of dry. All right, we're gonna do another one. Just kind of dip all the way in there and start twisting and turning until you get all of it nicely covered. You don't want to see any cake showing. You want it to be nice and sealed, okay? Just like that. And then give it a nice little shake. And again, the smoother or the more liquidy your chocolate is, the smoother and easier this process will be. Okay, if it's like kind of lumpy, then it kind of creates a problem sometimes. Kind of jiggle. Oops, I'm getting it everywhere. All right, once I get all the extras off, I'm gonna put it on a parchment paper, let it cool for a second, or dry for a second, I should say. I'm actually gonna put one in the fridge, just so I just want to make sure it's ready for us to actually start decorating. Okay, so I'm going to do one more. And once your chocolate gets less and less in the cup, it gets a little bit harder to do this. So you're going to have to go back and fill it back up. Okay, so I'm just going to shake, get the excess chocolate off. All right. Put it on the parchment paper. All right, and I think we are good to go. So I'm going to pop mine in the fridge for a couple seconds just to make sure it's ready for us to start decorating. And then we are going to start with our fondant. So if you want to get your fondant ready, get it all out. All right. So now we have this little guy that we are going to make. And for this one, I'm going to do his hat purple and his scarf purple. We're going to need an orange nose and obviously his black eyes. And if we want to decorate the hat, the beanie a little bit, we can use white fondant. So we're going to need white, purple, black, and orange. All right. So let's get our white fondants out. Just a quick note with these guys, they dry up very quickly. So once you get them out of these bags, you're gonna have to make sure that you wrap them up nice and tightly, airtight, preferably back in this packaging, and then a plastic wrap or put it in a Ziploc bag. Because like I said, if they're not wrapped correctly, unfortunately, they dry up very quickly and they become kind of like a rock, actually. All right. So we have our fondant. These guys are so fun. They remind me of edible Play-Dohs or Play-Doh. Well, I guess this is kind of edible Play-Doh. All right. Little tip on the fondant, if it's kind of on the drier side or not, forming perfectly and kind of cracking, you can always use vegetable shortening just a little bit, just to grease it up, and that'll help kind of get it smoother. And you can also use the vegetable shortening on your counter if you're rolling out fondant so the fondant doesn't stick to your table. Okay, so that's another trick you could do. So I'm going to go ahead and grease up mine a little bit. These things are perfect. And if your fondant is becoming too sticky, like when it gets humid, it's kind of hard to work with these guys, then you would need cornstarch just to absorb the moisture. Okay. All right. So I have my fondant perfect consistency, and I need to do a purple, little bit of orange, and some black. Okay, so for the black one, I'm going to use a pre-made black fondant. Here's another thing. If you're working with blacks and reds, they are really hard to color the white one in those colors to get it that perfect black color or that perfect deep red color. It just takes forever. So sometimes it's just so much easier just to go this route. Okay. But everything else is pretty easy. All right, so we're gonna take a little bit for our orange because we don't need a lot. We already have the black one for the eyes, and I'm gonna color the rest of this purplish. Okay, so I have my purple color. And if you guys have not worked with these before, they stain literally everything. So I'm pretty sure my fingers are gonna get stained. So sometimes it's better just to wear like gloves for these guys. So I'm just gonna put a little bit. Again, they're very concentrated, so they go a long way. Okay, so don't pour a whole bunch. Start slow and then kind of see what shade you're getting and kind of go from there. All right. Especially if it's something where it's a specific shade that you're looking for, like a lighter, kind of more pastel color. Okay, and then you just pull, fold, pull, fold. That's kind of the best way to get it nicely colored. All right, so it's just pulling and folding until it's nicely incorporated. Just like that. All right, so my purple is a little bit on the lighter side. And if I wanted to make it a little bit darker, this is a good time where I'm going to add more color to it. Okay, but for now, I'm just going to be fine with the shade that I got, even though it's not going to be as dark as this one. It's fine. For this class, we'll go with that. Okay, now we need our orange for the nose. Same concept. You want to go small and just one little drip and see what you get. And again, these things stain everything, so and then it's really hard to get it off your fingers. My son makes fun of me sometimes when I get colored fingers, and sometimes it stays for like days, and he calls me messy. All right, so we have our orange ready to go as well. Okay, I'm going to start popping these guys in a bag just because they do start to dry out. Okay, and for our next one, which is this little snowman, so we're gonna do a couple different looks. So we're gonna do a different color for his hat, just so he has something special. Okay, so I'm gonna use my white, same concept, and then I'm gonna color it with my blue. And again, you know, if you guys have like a smaller project and you don't want to mess with coloring and all of that, you can find these guys in different colors, shades, if they're awesome. Okay. So for this one, we are going to do blue. I have my blue color.
I have another question for you, Melanie.
Yeah, yes.
Does pre-colored fondant, like the black or red, stain your hands?
Not so much, but they do a little bit, but they're easier to get it off than when you use these guys. These guys are terrible. But it's not too bad. So nothing like you don't have to worry too much about it, I guess. Where this one, I mean, it's literally, you know, it gets everywhere. All right, so same concept. We're gonna pull and fold. Give it a nice mix. And again, if it's drying out, a little bit of shortening, vegetable shortening. If it's too mushy or sticky, you want to go with cornstarch. Sorry, I was losing my words there for a second. All right, so we have all of our colors ready to go. Now we're going to start with his hat. Okay, the best way to make his hat is to cut a circle and then cut the circle in half. Okay, and I'll show you guys that here in 1 second. Make sure this is, yep, that's already dry and ready to go. All right, so you just roll out your fondant. See my fingers all stained. Okay, you don't want to go too thin where it becomes a problem handling it. And you don't want it to be too thick because then it just looks kind of clunky and not nice. So somewhere, I'll show you guys the thickness. I don't know if you guys could see it. It's not super thick and it's not paper thin either. It's thick enough where I can kind of pick it up and move it around and it doesn't rip in my hands, okay? So you can use circle cutters. And what I try to do is just kind of match up and see, okay, maybe that'll be a good one. So we'll start with that. And, you know, there's no right or wrong. It's essentially Play-Doh, so you can cut and add and do all kinds of things to it. So don't be scared if it doesn't come out right the first time. Okay. And we're going to cut this in half, or maybe a little bit more than half, just like that. Okay. So here is our Cakesicle. Chocolate's nice and dry. Now I can work with it. Okay. So for the hat, we're going to put this right on top. And you're going to gently kind of form it on his head. Okay, just like that. And you want to cover the sides and make sure it's sticking to your Cakesicle. All right, super easy. And it's actually kind of fun. Okay, so we have the top part. Now we're going to create this layer, the folded layer. And for that, all you have to do is just, again, we're going to roll it out because we need a longer piece. And again, you don't want to go too thin. A little bit thicker on this one might be okay, just because we are trying to create kind of that thicker, like fabric feel, right? And we're just going to cut long strip. And the thickness, I mean, it's definitely totally up to you if you want to go super thick or you want to just, you know, kind of what matches the head. So we're going to start here. Okay, so we're just cutting a little strip. Okay, and now we're going to layer over it. Now, one trick if you want to make sure it's nicely glued on to the fondant, you can use a little bit of water, kind of get it wet, not too much, just a little bit, and that will create kind of a glue effect. Okay, so you can also do that. Just put a little bit of water here and then layer your top layer. Or you can just kind of with your fingers put it on there and then obviously cut what's extra off. I'm going to use my knife. All right. Now for texture. This is where all the fun comes in. The little details is what makes it super cute. You can use a toothpick, you can use something sharp, whatever it is that you find. And what I did here to create this look, I don't know if you guys could see it, kind of maybe over here. And all you do is just poke little holes, just like that, all the way through the band. And that kind of gives it that cool texture and gives it a little bit more personality. All right. There you go. So we're going to do that. You can even do that same effect on top. It's totally preference. Okay. So just kind of keep doing it until you're happy with what it looks like. So there's, again, no right or wrong here. You can technically use whatever tool you find that's sharp and create some sort of a pattern. Okay. So now we're going to do the scarf, and the scarf is the same concept, right? We just need a thicker band to go all the way, not all the way around. I mean, you can if you want to, but I usually just do my decorations on the front. So I'll go all the way from one side to the other. Since I already have this ready to go, I'll just cut another strip, just like that, all the way down. And again, same concept. You can put a little bit of water on the back of your fondant just to create some sort of a glue effect. Just making sure it's not gonna fall off, or gently just kind of press it on there. And that tends to work just fine for the most part. All right, so I have this all the way on one side. I'm gonna cut the extra. And I'm actually gonna use my extra that fell off, or you can just roll out a little bit more and then, you know, just cut it out yourself. But this should work perfectly fine with what I'm trying to do. So I'm just going to go ahead and use it. Okay. And kind of round the corners, the edges on top. All right. And for this one, before I put it on there, I'm going to do my texturing and then start layering. Okay, so I'm going to do the same texture that I did for the hat. Just going to start doing my little holes all the way around, just to kind of match the little beanie he's wearing. All right, so just keep doing it until, again, you're happy with what it looks like. Just like that. All right, I'm going to do the same thing for this one. Kind of do my little texturing. And then to create kind of those lines at the bottom of the scarf, you can just use your toothpick or knife or something that, you know, you can use it to do this and just create little lines at the end. Just like that. Super easy. And that's what you get. And again, you can put a little bit of water on the back side of it, which I will do right now, and kind of glue it right on there. Gently, gently and firmly push that on there. All right, this is starting to look super cute. Now we need the top little ball on the hat. And again, you can kind of use the same color. You can do different colors. I'm going to use my white one. So all you need is just a little bit of fondant. Form it into a ball. Okay, and same concept, maybe add a little bit of water just to make sure it sticks. And put it right on top. Just like that. And after a few minutes, it will dry up and it'll just stay there. All right. So now we need to work on his face. So now for the face, on the next one, I will show you guys, you can buy these edible markers at Michael's as well. These are super cool. They literally work just like markers, and you can draw with them, you can color with them, you can do all kinds of things, and obviously it's edible. So that's one way to draw the eyes, which I will do it on the next one, okay? Or you can just use your black fondant and create tiny little eyeballs. These bags sometimes get so hard to open. All right. So I have my black fondant and I'm just gonna do tiny little eyes, little circles. Oops, sticking to my, and just kind of put it on there. And I'm going to try and match the the same size so this poor guy doesn't have one giant eyeball and one small. Oops. Okay, I'm going to use a little bit of water. See how it wasn't sticking? Okay. And he needs a nose. And we are going to use our little orange nose. And you can do this kind of like a carrot shaped, or it's a little bit longer, or you can do like a button nose. Totally up to you. Okay, I think my eyeballs came out a little bit too big, but that's all right. He's still cute. I'm gonna put the nose right there. He looks nice and cozy for the warm weather. All right, so we have our first one done. Now let's do one more where we utilize our marker and do a different hat. Okay. So we have our other cakesicle. And for this one, we're gonna do a more of a patterned hat, and we're gonna use our marker just to create the face. Okay, so just a little different concept. All right, so same thing, we're gonna roll out our fondant and use our circle cutter for the hat. Just move this guy over here too. All right, so we're gonna roll this out. Again, you don't want to go too thin or too thick. And once you guys make one, you will definitely get the hang of, you know, the thickness of what really works and what doesn't work. So don't worry about it. The more you do, the better you're going to get. Okay, so we're going to cut our circle. Same concept. I'm just going to take a little bit of it off. Okay, create our little hat on top and gently just form the sides into your cakesicle so it sticks. Okay, just like that. All right, now we're going to texture the top part. We're going to do something a little bit different. And again, this is where you can get super creative, you know, utilizing different things that you have in the house, coming up with fun, different textures. So for this one, I'm just going to do lines instead of my little dots. I'm going to do a lined kind of texture for the hat. All right, so I'm just going to keep doing it until I'm happy with the way it looks. Okay, make sure you get all the sides, the top. All right. I'm actually liking this a lot. All right, so now we need to create the band that goes on top as well. Same concept. We're going to roll out our fondant and cut a strip out of it. Okay. Roll this out. I know kids love working with fondant. My son does. He thinks it's the coolest thing. And he gets to eat it. I think that's why he tries to play with it. All right, so for this one, you can either texture it before you layer it, or you can layer it and then texture it. It's just, you know, totally up to you. So we're gonna do it after the fact. We're gonna put, I'm gonna add actually a little bit of water here to create that glue I was talking about. Kind of put a little bit on there, not too much. You don't want it to be soaking wet. And you put it on top of the fondant. See, it's sticking so much better now. And kind of form it just like that and cut the extras off. Okay, oh, that one actually came out nice. All right, so now I'm going to do the same texture on this as well. Just creating lines. All right, all the way around. And you can mix and match textures if you want. And, you know, just get super creative with it, whatever you guys want to do. Okay, so I have all of that ready to go. And for this one, I'm going to decorate it with a cute little snowflake. Okay, and I'm just going to put it right there and kind of squeeze in, and it should hold its place. All right, so now we need eyes, we need his mouth, and then at the end, we're going to put the nose. And this is where this fun little marker comes in handy. I love working with these things. All right, and so we're going to create the eyes. And all you do is just draw on there. And on this side. All right. We have the two eyes, and then we're going to create the mouth. And this is totally up to you guys how you want to. Sometimes these markers dry out quickly, or if the surface is kind of oily, it becomes a little bit harder. Not impossible, but harder to get it on there. Like this one is giving me problems for some reason. All right. Get the mouth going. And again, you know, if you don't want to use this, you can use the black fondant and just create tiny little balls and put it all on there. Okay, so you do have options. And then we're going to do his cute little nose. We're going to make this one more of a carrot shaped, I'm thinking. A little bit longer. Give it a little bit more personality, just like that. And we're going to pop it on there. And if it's not sticking, again, you can create that glue effect with a little bit of water. There we go. And I think I'm going to dress him up with a cute little ribbon. And these guys are so fun for like party favors or gifts. You can make a few different ones, different characters, and put them in a box as a fun little gift. So you can do so much with these guys. All right, so I'm just gonna create like a little scarf effect for him. We will do a little loop. Yeah. All right, I think he is ready to go outside and play in the snow. There we go. We have our cute little snowman cakesicles ready to go. Do you guys have any questions, or do you want to see anything for me to kind of redo? We have a little bit of time left. So if there's anything I can help answer questions, please let me know.
While we wait for any last minute questions, we did have a comment earlier from Aubrey. She says, this is a cute idea for like a party or something.
Yes, absolutely. That's why I like working with Cakesicles, because there's so much you can do. You can, I've seen where at some parties, they will turn this into like an interactive, like little workshop for kids. So a part of the party, you know, they'll set aside and they kind of have all the stuff that you need set up like a bar, and the kids kind of have fun and create their own little Cakesicles. So yeah, it's such a fun concept for sure.
We do have one question.
Yes.
Do they need to be kept in the refrigerator?
Um, for the most part, I would say if you're going to keep it longer than a day, I would say yes. And only because, you know, the inside you do have cake, and in your cake you have eggs and you have dairy and things like that, right? So if you're gonna make it the same day and it's gonna sit on the counter all day and you're gonna have your party at night, not a problem at all. But if you're gonna, like I said, you know, keep it for a few days, I would definitely put it in the fridge just to make sure you're safe from the cake perspective. Okay, not so much the chocolate or the fondant; those are fine. They can stay on the counter forever, and they should be fine. They don't go bad. But my worry sometimes becomes what's inside the cakesicles. Okay. So that's what I would do. And I wouldn't just leave this the way it is in the fridge. I would definitely cover them up with a plastic wrapping of some sort or put it in an airtight container of some sort, just to protect them. Okay. I have also frozen my cake pops before. Um, they don't come out as good as you know, putting it in the fridge for a couple days. But you can do that too. Just an option. Okay. All right, guys.
We
Is
do
there
have
more?
another. Yeah, we have one more question.
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
I would think that this would depend on if you already have a cake or not. But what is the fastest time that we can make this?
Gosh, fastest time. Yeah, it all depends on, you know, are you just trying to make, you know, what we just made today? Because these things can get super complicated and super creative, and there's so much decorations involved. But if you want to make them, let's just say we want to do this, right? The little snowman. You would, I mean, depending on how many as well, right? So you want to make sure you have your cake batter, all of that ready to go. You mold them, you put them in the freezer for about 15 minutes, and then make sure your chocolate is melted, ready to go. And it's like assembly line at that point, right? It's like a system you created. You just dip them all as they're sitting on the counter. They do dry pretty quickly. Like the chocolate will set pretty quickly. So by the time you're done dipping all of them, you can go back and, you know, it's just in steps. You can even create the little hats ahead of time if you want. With the fondant, again, you know, fondant's not going to go bad. So if you have time, let's say today, you know, create your little hats, put them aside, make sure they're covered in a plastic wrapping so they don't dry out. And then the next day, when you're doing your cake pops, you dip your chocolates, your decorations are already ready to go, and you can start plopping them on. I'm thinking that might be a faster way of getting these guys made quickly. I hope that that was helpful.
We did have one more question come in.
Yes.
Does unused fondant need to be refrigerated?
No. Unused fondant goes back, like I said, back in the wrapper. Make sure it's nicely covered and Ziploc bag, and you are making sure it's not going to dry out, and it stays out of the fridge until you can't use it anymore. So a very long time. So you don't have to worry about it going bad or being in the fridge at all. The only time fondant doesn't do well is when, like summertime, when it gets really, really humid. Ooh, that's terrible for fondant. The fondant starts sweating, it gets sticky, it gets really gross. And I think at that point, if you live at a place where that happens, you might want to consider putting them in the fridge, because that has happened to me before and it's not fun.
All right, no more questions.
No more questions. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed this class. If you have any further questions or comments, or you want to send me what you made, because I love to see what you guys come up with during class or even after class, you can reach me on my Instagram page, which is Wild Bakes. Send me pictures there, send me questions there, and I'll make sure to get back to you guys in a timely manner. next class will be posted also on my Instagram page and on Michael's online classes page. So feel free to hop on there and sign up for the next class if you're interested. And you can also tag your stuff, make it with Michael's or Wild Bakes. So that way we can kind of see what you guys came up with. All right. With that said, I hope you guys have a good rest of the weekend, and thank you for joining me today. Bye, everyone.